This is absolutely insane because this is a Griffin. Even if, and I don't concede this, but even if somebody saw a dragon and was like, oh my goodness, this is invoking, quote, racial fear and trauma and reminds people of lynching and the state destruction of Black bodies. Even if you concede that, this is not a dragon. This is a Griffin. It's something completely different. And again, neither exist. The last thing on our list, I don't know if people have seen it on the website yet. It's a written piece that went up yesterday, and it is one of those things in the culture war where they went in search of a problem with a solution, but there was no problem and they had a solution, so they just did it anyway. Here's the headline from Rebel News. Police Griffin logo, quote, heavily resembles the KKK dragon, says the city's Commission on Human Rights. And now this is not like a kangaroo court human rights commission. This is like a panel of busybodies that go around looking for reasons to be offended, and the city pays them for it. A police department in Iowa, and this seems weird to me because Iowa seems pretty normal. A police department in Iowa is accepting submissions to change its logo because it allegedly, quote, heavily resembles the KKK dragon. The Waterloo Police Griffin logo was adopted in 1964 and reportedly leaves many citizens and residents feeling uncomfortable and distrustful when dealing with the Waterloo Police Department. They want me to believe that a little Griffin logo, like the flag of Wales, is making people feel uncomfortable when they're talking to the cops. Like when you're speeding and you're like, oh, you're giving me a $400 ticket? That's fine, but your logo is making me feel uncomfortable. I just don't believe this. The city's Commission on Human Rights has launched a petition calling for the unreserved retirement of the eagle-lion mythical hybrid griffin by tying it to the history of the KKK through its dragon logo. It says, although Black Americans have typically been the Klan's primary target, it has also attacked Jews, immigrants, members of the LGBT community, and until recently, Catholics. This is the best line, though, and this is from our web editors, and we don't deserve how good they are. Griffins and dragons do share a superficial resemblance in that both have wings and neither exist. Yes. I can't even believe this is a real story. You know, imagine the cops going around doing good policing in their community, making the place a safer place to live. And some busybodies employed by the very city that you are protecting say that the little patch on your sleeve is making you look like a racist, even though you haven't done anything wrong. This is like peak nonsense.
You know, Sheila, you nailed it there. I mean, the Human Rights Commission, the Human Rights Tribunal, in and of itself, they are kangaroo courts. They don't follow the proper rules that you would see in a real courtroom of justice. But this goes a step further because, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't seem that there's an actual name, a complainant in this story. So it's almost as though the Human Rights Commission is going, oh man, this COVID, business is slow. And as you know, folks, the number one rule of a bureaucracy is always to grow the bureaucracy. You never contract it. So it's almost like the Human Rights Commission is saying, gosh darn it, if no one's going to get offended by that there Griffin logo, we'll get offended for them. This is unbelievable. And I mean, yeah, where does it go from there? I know the University of Guelph, their nickname is the Griffins, the Guelph Griffins. And I think there's only a certain way you can draw that creature, that mythical creature, as you pointed out. I guess, is the Guelph Griffins, is that our new version of the Washington Redskins? Is that where we're going with this? This is outrageous. And Sheila, nowhere is it mentioned, what is the cost in rebranding all these uniforms and taking that logo off police cruisers? I mean, I can only imagine, and especially right now when we shouldn't be spending a nickel on anything extraneous, given the lockdown that we're in.
This is absolutely insane because this is a Griffin. Even if, and I don't concede this, but even if somebody saw a dragon and was like, oh my goodness, this is invoking, quote, racial fear and trauma and reminds people of lynching and the state destruction of Black bodies. Even if you concede that, this is not a dragon. This is a Griffin. It's something completely different. And again, neither exist. Neither exist. Like, there's a whole host of kids' movies and kids' entertainment are built around dragons, like How to Train Your Dragon. I think there's a couple of those movies out there. Are those invoking like racial destruction or whatever, racial fear and trauma? Or is it just a dragon? Lighten up.
It's out, Sheila, way back, I'm going back to the early 80s. There was a Toronto Blue Jay second baseman. His name was Alfredo Griffin. And when they would introduce him coming up to bat, the big Jumbotron would show an actual mythical griffin taking flight.
Cool.
Guess what? Alfredo Griffin was a Black man, so I don't think the Blue Jays were being racist by putting that Griffin on the scoreboard when Alfredo came up to bat. Of course, I'm talking the early 80s, Sheila. Oh man, do I miss the 80s. I think we have some super chats.
We do have some final super chats, and we are 2 minutes past the hour, and I can't get over how stupid this whole story is. If we're listening to the community, then we wouldn't want to do anything that resembles a griffin, which invokes racial fear and trauma, except their problem is with dragons. And I don't know why I'm defending mythical creatures at this point, but this is where the social justice movement has put me, where I'm annoyed, so annoyed that I say, leave the dragons alone. And dragons aren't even real. Okay, Durafy gives us $5. Seeing some reoccurring characters show up at protests, from environment to railroads, etc. I wonder how many of those types ended up joining the BLM protests. Well, I could tell you, I recognize some of the same people from Occupy Wall Street. So let's go back to 2012. I recognize some of the same characters both in the United States and in Canada. It's all the same people engaged in the BLM protests, blocking pipelines. It's all the same people. I think this goes all the way back to like the protests that were organized around Hurricane Katrina. I think some of the same people. It's all the same people.
Wow.
It pays well though. Better than getting a real job, I guess. Half-Blind Hecklers gives us $5. Thanks for speaking the truth. In Canada, got some hilarious anti-Trump hate mail this morning for my window sign. You must live somewhere not as fun as Alberta, because it's nothing to see like a Trump sticker here at all. SK gives us $100. Holy cow.
Thank you.
And no super chat. Very generous.
Wow.
Holy moly.
Thank you.
Appreciate that very much. And I wish I could thank you by your name, but you just put your initials there. So thank you. Viking Insane gives us $2. So the KKK accepts Catholics now. Source, I don't know. The source is some Iowa busybody, I guess.
I think the KKK is trying to be more diverse, Sheila.
Yeah. Didn't Biden eulogize the KKK Grand Wizard or something like that? Oh, by the way, are wizards off limits now too? I don't know.
That's an excerpt from my daily TV show that I do live at 12 noon Eastern time. We talk about the news of the day, we play interesting viral videos, and most importantly, I take your questions that you chat to me through YouTube Super Chat. I think that's the funnest part of it. So tune in every weekday at 12 noon Eastern time, only here at rebelnews.com.